The carbon cycle is a process that describes the movement of carbon throughout the environment. It cycles carbon between the atmosphere, plants, animals, oceans, and land. The first aspect of the carbon cycle we'll talk about is the oceans. The carbon from the atmosphere is dissolved into the oceans, where it is used by organisms, such as phytoplankton, in photosynthesis. These organisms are consumed by other organisms, like fish, and used for energy. When these animals die, they leave behind the carbon that was consumed. This carbon can either be stored in the ocean's depths, released back into the atmosphere for other organisms to use, or delivered back into the atmosphere through a process called upwelling. Cold water contains large amounts of carbon and typically sinks to the bottom of the oceans. However, that cold water is brought back to the surface through upwelling, where it is warmed and some of the carbon is released back into the atmosphere. The carbon cycle is similar on land. Carbon is absorbed from the atmosphere by plants that use it for photosynthesis. These plants store large amounts of carbon until they are consumed by animals, such as humans. Animals release carbon back into the atmosphere through respiration. Another way that carbon is put back into the atmosphere is by the burning of organic matter. One large contributor to carbon emissions on land is the burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are organic materials that have been buried under layers of rocks for millions of years. This produces a compound rich in carbon, which when burned produces energy, but also releases large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Another interesting aspect of the carbon cycle is the way it contributes to climate change. Carbon, when released into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, acts as an insulator around the Earth. It allows for the sun rays and heat to enter the Earth's atmosphere, but once that heat rebounds against the Earth, it becomes stuck and insulates the Earth. This is the main cause of climate change. Additionally, the time of year can also influence the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. The majority of landmass is located in the northern hemisphere. When the northern hemisphere is in summer, the amount of plant life increases, and therefore the amount of carbon in the atmosphere decreases. However, in the northern hemisphere's winter, the amount of vegetation is less, which increases the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.